Onto the story. So what is fast becoming one of my favorite things about Hibike is getting to see more of the extended base section family over the last 2 episodes. Between like the 7 of them, actually, they have such great chemistry. We have Hazuki, who is like the tuba baby with her parents, Riko and Goto, doing all they can to rear her in the ways of the tuba. And then, so that's Riko, one of the sweetest girls in the band, it seems, whipping Hazuki into shape with her evil, scary eyes. But despite, you know, the tough love, she and Goto only have their tuba baby's best interests at heart and are incredibly concerned whenever Hazuki shows signs that she's still struggling with the basics. And then you have Natsuki, who is for now like the mysterious aunt with the dark past who will disappear for weeks at a time, but, you know, will rock up at family gatherings and give you cool presents whenever she does show up. We then have Asuka, who I believe someone in the comments called like the matriarch of the base family. And yeah, I'd say that's deadly accurate. You know, she may scare like the shit out of the rest of them, especially Hazuki, but she will defend this base family to the death and ensure that they get everything they need to grow as musicians. You also have Hazuki's siblings, Kumiko and Midori. I sort of see Hazuki as the middle child who's still trying to figure out who she is and where she fits in, and potentially feels like she's being overshadowed by her 2 other higher achieving siblings. Both Kumiko and Midori have obviously many more years of musical experience on her. Kumiko, we learn, doesn't have to try hard at all and still is decently good at playing the youth. Her ability to do well without really trying was also reflected in the fact that she scored higher than average in her midterm exams, but that's not really something that Kumiko feels is worth being particularly sad or happy about. So it's not something she's focused on at all, and yet she can still do fairly well at it. Midori, meanwhile, is just a natural born star. The only double bass player, she hails from a prestigious private school and was chosen to be the color guard in the marching band. So she's pretty much perfection, right? Which is also why Asuka uses the images of several sapphires overrunning the tuba section, making it impossible for Hazuki to get a regular spot if she doesn't get her act together right now. And then later when we get to episode 6, we'll talk more about how heartwarming it is that the bass family rallies around Hazuki to help her find joy in playing the tuba, and also what Hazuki brings to the table too. But for now, I just want to say how enjoyable it has been to watch them supporting each other in their own ways. I think that it really is like the best part of being part of a band or orchestra or really any group-based team activity. It's experiencing not just the fun, but also the pain that you go through together, and also getting a taste of like the kindness of your bandmates and opportunities for you to support others and be supported in return. I think, and I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this, because I've experienced it and you probably have as well, that something like band can really bring out like the best in humans. While we get this whirlwind of re-energized ambition and drive from most of the band, so while all that's going on, there is like an arc that's running in the opposite direction to that energy, and that's Aoi. And at every turn, Aoi is always having to cut short her music practice to go to cram school. So while everyone else is getting pumped up because of hate or like actual excitement over the thought of getting to nationals, Aoi still comes across as being a bit dead inside. And it is like totally understandable. You know, in episode 6, she's walking home and then she sees Kumiko practicing her youth and whispers, "Lucky you, Kumiko." And Isano Alpha, I think, broke this down perfectly. So they wrote, her lucky you, Kumiko, is probably just about how Kumiko has the freedom to spend a lot of time practicing while she has to juggle the band with her other school-related stuff and can't focus entirely on the band. Yeah, she is at that stage in her life where she can't afford to infringe on her other activities for the sake of her music. Like most people who pick up instruments during school, she's decided, or other people have decided for her, we don't know, that music isn't where her future lies. She's in second year, so she's got to start thinking seriously about what she's going to do for college. And not everyone is talented enough to fit absolutely everything into their lives. Most people have to make hard choices about what things to cut. And it's kind of painful to watch because you are watching someone slowly shut down a part of their heart. And I think the band's continued journey towards nationals will make the pressure on Aoi of having to choose between music and study that much worse. And so I think she'll be forced to have to break things off eventually, even before they get to nationals. I hope it doesn't happen, but I think that's what's being written into the episodes. This last bit of discussion is about the Base family, again, my faves. And I appreciate that despite the focus and the drama around reaching nationals, Hibike does make room for other equally important struggles going on, like the beginner's struggle of learning to love an instrument that you've just picked up. And the struggle is summed up by Hazuki, who says exasperatedly that she can't play like she wants to. When you first start out in anything, there is this yawning gap between what you want to do or imagine yourself doing and what you actually can do. For beginners, there's a critical inflection point where if you don't find a reason for persevering through all the technical drills and not immediately sounding great, it's really tempting to just drop it and move on to something else. Interestingly, for Hazuki, she'd already gone through that kind of beginner's pain with tennis, which is what led her to want to become good at tuba. Unfortunately, switching fields just means you have to suffer through beginner's pain in another form. The other bass section members do their best to help Hazuki, but in ways that don't quite click at first. So Riko and Goto try to explain why they love playing the tuba, and the things they end up saying, like, the tuba is pain, it's suffocating, people barely notice us, it has nothing going for it. These are things that I feel experienced players would understand and see as things to be proud of. It's weird, if you hone your skills at something for long enough, the pain almost becomes synonymous with pleasure. But for a beginner like Hazuki, it really doesn't do its job as a motivator. Asuka's approach is also well-meaning. She gives Hazuki a beginner's practice exercise to give her a taste of what it's like to be good at something. And Hazuki complains that it's too easy, which just sets Asuka off, and she ends up berating Hazuki for not having enough toned abs, implying, of course, that Asuka herself does. Even when, Kumiko goes all out as Tubikun and, discards her pride by taking inspiration from Goto with the fist of determination, all she ends up doing is making the wrong girl fall for her and end up on Asuka's public YouTube channel. A true moment of inspiration strikes when the Base family gathers together and realizes that Hazuki has not once experienced the transcendent joy of playing as part of an ensemble, of creating magic through harmony. And a great comment from Renato Salzano, who references K-On. So as for Mio and K-On, bass instruments in general really show and you feel their importance for the overall band only when you play with others. They are the one linking rhythm and melody together, building the basement that the others shine on. So Hazuki really needed for a time to play with others and feel the importance of her contributions. Exactly. So like Goto said, the bass section often gets these long, repetitive notes that can only be truly appreciated as one part of a whole. And so we get possibly the sweetest, most wholesome scene of the show so far, Hazuki's first ensemble with her two best bandmates. The million-watt smile that she has on her face while they play, or after they play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and her excitement over finally getting a taste of what it's like to play real music, that put a smile on my face too. And what's even more, like, she goes on to inspire Kumiko to do the same, to keep working hard at her instrument. In a virtuous cycle that I really loved about this episode, we see Hazuki help her. All right, finally, episode 7 of Sound Euphonium. I've got my caffeine, yes, and I cannot wait to see where these auditions take us. So if you guys are ready, let's sync this in 3, 2, 1, play. Oh, I like how it goes a da 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 da. So it's actually steps up the minor scale before it goes into this main section, which is in major. Tibikun.
試験も終わり、コンクールに向けての練習がいよいよ本格的になってきた。後日行われるオーディションに備え。
What all these like stairs being traded across the room? There's lots of drama that's happening with the characters that we haven't even met. There she goes again. Everyone's got to be noticing. They're like, why is this girl even still in band? Crybaby sax. Oh, so this is an Aoi episode, maybe. From across. Oh, Taki, man, don't point that out. I don't know. Some things Taki does, it's like, why? Something she'd say. Wow, this is... I mean, I guess it had to happen sooner or later. Aoi's choice to leave. It's like collateral damage. She feels guilt. Just taking too much of responsibility onto herself for what happened. Oh no, Taki, don't say anything stupid to Aoi. Okay, I mean, that was reasonable. That's it. Yeah, it's Haruka promising something she can't deliver. Yeah. Oh god, it is like guilt. Oh no, everyone's like falling apart. It's like domino effect. She's talking about Asuka. You give us treats. That's what I was thinking too. Oh no, now she feels bad for yelling at Kumiko. Asuka, why are you talking like this? Just making it worse. But she chose it. Yeah. It was still her choice. Ooh. We'll talk more about this incredibly long scene, like starting with Aoi and then Haruka, and then now this confrontation between Haruka and Asuka. That was a great scene, but just done so well to just illustrate the cascade of emotions and with one thing leading to another. That was great.
でもね、私それ見て思った。アスカは部長を断ったんじゃなくて引き受けられなかったんだなって。
Yeah, she wouldn't care enough to manage all of those conflicting personalities and emotions.
アスカは頭いいから、そういうの全部計算しちゃって引き受けられなかったんじゃないかな。それって私がバカってこと？そうか？違うよ。それだけ勇気があったってこと。
Yeah, she stepped up. Oh, Kaori, saying all the right words. And true as well. Haruka was there. Again. Yeah? Who cares what you think, Shuichi? Asuka's awesome. Is he even close to Asuka? Like, why does he even have an opinion like that? Oh no, please don't be a love triangle. She's gonna ask about Shuichi. Don't. No. No. I was like, okay, that moment when Shuichi steps onto the train and then he's like, he turns around and you can't see Kumiko, but you know that he's smiling at her. And then Hazuki kind of just watches with a wistful look on her face. I was like, no, they wouldn't do this. Like, they wouldn't just put a dude in there in between their friendship to create some sort of tension, because I mean, you can, but it's just so done. It's fine. I'm sure it won't be a huge part of... God, please don't make it a big plot point. Also, because just all throughout, up until this episode even, Kumiko has just shown sub-zero interest in Shuichi. Like, not even zero, sub-zero. Ugh. I really liked Shuichi, and I still like him. I just, apart from all that shit he was spewing about Asuka, I mean, he has a right to express what he thinks, but I'm just like, wait, when were you ever in the vicinity of Asuka's circle of friends that you could even have an opinion, you know? So I like him, but I just, I don't know, I'm feeling a bit edgy about where they're taking this whole Shuichi, Hazuki, Kumiko situation. All right, let's go to the next step. You know, case in point being the scene in episode 7 where Aoi finally makes her choice to quit the band in front of everyone. Poor girl. So for his part, I feel that the way Taki approached the situation was reasonable. Like, he didn't push too much. I don't think he expected Aoi to quit right then and there. Like, no one did. But he did lay out the possible paths forward not just for Aoi, but for everyone who is in the same situation as her, that given they're really going for nationals, like you need to take a look at your schedule, set some goals for yourself, and then put in the required amount of time and effort. Otherwise, as part of a 60 plus member band, even just one person who's not putting in that time will drag the whole team down. And, you know, again, just doing what he does best and leaving it up to the individual student to make their choice. And Aoi, who already knows that her number one priority is getting into her college of choice, cuts the band. You know, since Sunfest, she's known that she can no longer coast along because everyone else around her has stepped up their game and she can't keep it up. Which leads to Haruka, who, to her credit, cares so much for Aoi and knows that the decision she made wouldn't have been an easy one for her because they've been through the ringer together. You know, as fellow third years or, you know, second years who were sandwiched in between the huge conflict of last year, you know, they both share that guilt of being unable to prevent the first years from throwing down and just leaving. I have to say, the way Aoi leaving the band led to Haruka's own personal breakdown was handled so smoothly. It was like we transitioned effortlessly from one girl's personal difficult circumstances to her friends. Like, her friends shared guilt, but also Haruka's own internal struggles with her inferiority complex, of being in her mind, and probably some of the other band members' minds too, if we're being honest, being second choice as president because Asuka chose not to do it. Kumiko only being able to say that Haruka is nice and treats her kohais well, unfortunately did come off as being something you say when you just can't think of any other positive points, which wasn't true, as Kaori later shows by spitting facts and saying that the reason there is even a band is because Haruka took up the presidency when she did. But in that moment, you know, Haruka can't see that she can't see that in the context of the conflict. What mattered is that she stepped up to the plate, that the split was a calamity that could have broken up the band forever, but because she was there, it survived. Sure, like, it's not in the best of states, but it does exist. And so that episode proved that Haruka is a certified badass. I also love that Haruka let her guard down enough to yell at Asuka for forcing her to become president because she said no. Like, clearly Haruka has been keeping a very tight lid on her emotions this whole time, and Aoi leaving just reopened that wound again. And to see Asuka get a bit taken aback by Haruka's outburst was fantastic because she is always so unflappable. And even when she was comforting Haruka, she was doing it in that teasing, indirect manner. Like, in that emotionally very fragile moment, she was like, come on, Haruka, stop restricting your kohai like a snake and get back to your post. So for once, it was nice to see Asuka get, you know, hit by something someone else said to her. But it really doesn't last that long because Asuka immediately recovers and makes the point to Haruka that, well, she too had the option of refusing to be president, but she didn't. So on the one hand, Haruka is wrong to believe it was Asuka's choice that forced her into the position, because it was, at the end of the day, Haruka's own choice. But also, on the other hand, because it was Haruka's own choice, that makes her the most suitable person to be president because she chose it. It was so tight the way that whole scene was written, and I was just in awe of how well they set everything up and how you could really feel the emotional connections between the three of the third year girls. So like Aoi, Haruka, and Asuka. It was interesting getting everyone else's read on Asuka and what her deal is. I mean, she is the real mystery girl, not Reina. The people who know her best would be Haruka and Kaori, but it seems like even they sometimes aren't quite 100% sure of what Asuka really feels. And